Okay, so this project is called Lost and Found Lines. So why don't we begin to start losing and finding? So we're gonna subtract line work and add line work. And to add, we're using the brush tool, and to subtract, we're using the eraser tool. So this is my file so far, and I have a combination of areas that have white line and black line. I have some layers that have a lot of merged layers together. I have certain areas that are lighter in opacity and others that are 100% opacity. So let's start erasing to subtracting. I'm going to take the eraser tool. Make sure you're on the layer that you actually want to erase, and at this point maybe I want to take everything out of the face area just so that the face makes a little more sense here. You should start to look at the design of what you have. You can press F, as in Frank, on the keyboard to really take a look at the balance. So maybe I want some more darks over here, and maybe I need an area that's a little bit darker. Think about your values when you're working. You can add textures with the brush tool by making textures, so you can add to the textures that you have by using cross-hatching, hatching, lines. And what you want to do is zoom out to see the textures that you have. So I'm pressing Command or Control minus to zoom out. You can also go View, Zoom Out. You can also go to Window and Navigator. This shows you a preview, and you can take this slider bar and zoom in and zoom out. And you can make this window like way smaller if you want to. So the nice thing about this is that you have a little thumbnail image of what it looks like. So I think I want to find, right, lost and found, some lines here. I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to take a brush tool, and I'm going to paint with black. So black needs to be in my foreground color box. And for the brush tool, you can make the size bigger or smaller there. And I think I just want to fill in certain areas. I just want to use a regular brush now, and I could add some more cross-hatching in here. And just think about shapes and areas. Think about your negative and positive space. Maybe there's a place where two areas meet that you really want to fill it in, like in here. I could also take the magic wand tool, the selection tool, and select an area and fill that area. So I have this magic wand here. I want sample all layers to be checked, and I'm on my new layer. Let's call this what I'm finding lines. So I'm actually just painting these in. And now I could actually go in here and select an area and then just fill it. So edit and fill. And I want to use the foreground color, which is black, and I'll say okay. So notice it's filling on my found line layer, not on the actual line layers, and it's good to keep that stuff separated. So I could press Shift or go up here to, you'll notice I'm adding to my selection now. So why don't I just go ahead and start filling certain shapes that I want. A shortcut key for fill with foreground is Option or Alt on a PC and Delete or Backspace on a PC. I can deselect, Command or Control D. So you can kind of see, you know, maybe there's like really large areas I want to fill in with black. Maybe I don't want this so much, so I could bring the opacity down. Maybe I want to transition this from this hard edge, maybe I want to transition it a little bit softer, so I can actually take an eraser and work on the transition of the edge. When I take the eraser tool over here, I could just erase with a regular brush, but if I move hardness to 0, now this is an airbrush and we are going to erase, and it's going to have a little, like, we're not having that hard edge anymore, right? Sometimes you can just tap it and it does a nice job. You can also change the flow of your eraser and make it a little bit less if it's coming out too fast. If you have a mouse, I suggest that because you will have less control than if you have a tablet. And then maybe I accidentally got in certain places that I didn't want, in there and in there. So really work on adding and subtracting by erasing any lines that you don't necessarily want, and adding more and notice when you add extra lines, you need to do it on its own layer. So that's pretty much it, pretty simple. We really want to look at the elements of design though, and just try to balance out your image. So make sure there's an even distribution of weight through different sizes, the distribution of the different sizes, and different values and the distribution of those values. It takes less black to balance out a white. So if this was on a white background, it would take less black line work to balance it out. That means it takes more white to balance out. More white line work on black background to balance out a black background. You can overlap, you can play with figure ground reversal, and you can erase lines. So yeah, take your time and see, play around. I recommend to have like a lot of layers here and just decide what do you want to fill in and really work with your values. You should have areas of dark, your darkest darks, some mediums, and then like your lightest lights. And maybe my white actually make more sense if I fill this in black. The areas of highest contrast are going to be where your darkest darks and your lightest lights meet. So that's your areas of highest contrast. So notice how that kind of really stands out now.